Welcome back to Scooby Algo Trades. So what we have here is it's still Qlib, it's still RD agent, but I've moved it locally back to VS Code because CodeSpace kept timing out on GitHub, and there was one thing that the AI forgot to do on this, which was because I was asking it, Claude, was it exactly the same environment as CodeSpace? So we can, just transpose the whole thing down because I had it pushed there. If you saw it, you can have it. I pushed it. It might be changed a bit now though. For a fork, so I was just going to fork it down and say it's everything, all the work I've done, I can just use it. But it forgot to tell me because it said, "Hey, yeah, it's exactly the same." I said, "Okay, fine," because what I was going to say was, "Let's set up the environment exactly the same." But it said it was exactly the same, so I didn't do anything. But it turns out it was talking about what's exactly the same is that I can use Claude Code inside of it as an extension. It didn't mean the whole environment is exactly the same, so it ended up having lots of problems integrating it with Windows. But anyway, it's working even in Windows and not Linux like it's supposed to be working in. So there may be other errors later on, but Claude was happy enough that it's working, and I was like, okay, it's working. So that's it. I have a little bit of a script because there were so many things, just a few things, or pointers really, notes of what happened. So bear with me while I just try and read this. What actually happened here. Let me get it up. So what actually happened? Let me see. I'll just pull it up here. You can read along with me if you like. I'll just read it here. So I built this whole quant research pipeline, which is, already, Qlib or the agent, an AI that autonomously invents trading factors and tests them, running it on GitHub Codespaces. So we got that. It's free, but it kicks you after a 30-minute idle timer. Well, it was more like 4 hours, actually. But every single time I stepped away to make coffee, dead. I lost my place again. So I said, fine, I'll just run it locally on my Windows laptop instead. Someone, no names. Okay, you got to give Claude credit where it's due there. Told me it would be basically identical. It was not basically identical. Man, Claude is funny. Okay. Let's take a beat, take a breath. CodeSpaces runs on Linux under the hood, but my laptops runs Windows. Turns out that's kind of a big deal when the whole toolkit was built and tested on Linux. Okay, so it's just saying exactly what I just said, so that's good. Symlinks needing admin permissions, multiprocessing behaving completely differently, a pip cache permission error, UTF-8 encoding crashes, one bug after another, each one a little Windows-shaped landmine nobody had stepped on before because everybody else just uses Linux. We fixed every single one eventually. It took 2 days. Part 2. Wait. Why did we rule out NASDAQ again? Early on, I'd already learned that NASDAQ 100 was a bad universe to test on. Too efficient, too picked over by every hedge fund on the planet. No room for a simple factor to find real edge. So we moved to the S&P 500 instead. Then one day it hit me. Wait, isn't the S&P 500 just a big pile of mega caps everyone already analyzes to death? Why would that logic apply to NASDAQ 100 and not here? Fair point. Filed it away. Foreshadowing. So part 3, the data scrubbing factory. Visual gag, cartoon factory, marigold glows. Okay, we haven't got time for that. Imagine it in your head, please. To get more stocks into the mix, I pulled a 5-year New York Stock Exchange data set of Kaggle. My one, actually. I put it on Kaggle. Cheap or free, great. Which turned out to be really good, by the way, so you can use it if you want to. Except the prices weren't properly split adjusted. Well, apart from that, it was really good, okay? A stock does a 10-for-1 split, and if you don't fix the history, your chart shows a fake 90% crash on the split date that never actually happened. We built the fix, verified it, moved on, felt good. It wasn't fully fixed. Turned out the source data was inconsistently adjusted. Some stocks already had splits removed, some didn't, and our one-size-fits-all fix double adjusted the ones that were already clean, creating brand new fake 4-buy and 8-buy price cliffs we hadn't had before. Found that one 3 days later from a gut feeling, my gut feeling. Which is mine, not Claude's. The weekend we interrogated our own results. So once the pipeline was finally stable, I ran it, got a number. It was a good IC, felt like a win. Then I asked, hang on, is this actually good or does it just look good? So we did a placebo test, literally fed it random noise and checked how that scored. If garbage scores nearly as well as our real result, we've got nothing. It didn't. Real signal confirmed statistically. Then, was I even comparing against a fair benchmark? Turns out, no. I was benchmarking an equal weight strategy against the S&P 500, which is weighed toward giant tech stocks that were having an incredible run. That's not fair. That's not a fair fight. So fixed the benchmark. Suddenly the result looked way better. Then, is it actually profitable once you account for real trading costs? No. Turns out a trading fast signal every single day racks up costs that eat the entire edge. Tested slower rebalancing, helped, but only got it back to roughly break even, never into real profit. Every step we find a flattering number and we refuse to trust it, and we dig until it either survives or collapses. Most of them collapsed. So part 5, the lineup. Here's the big one. My S&P 500 dataset was quietly built by taking today's S&P 500 and pasting that same list of companies backward in time to 2010. Sounds reasonable? It is not reasonable. Because in 2010, the S&P 500 had different companies in it. Eastman Kodak, PG&E, companies that later went bankrupt or got kicked out. And in my dataset, they just never existed. Erased from history completely. Turns out that's a massive problem because a momentum strategy by whatever's been going up quietly benefits enormously from never being allowed to accidentally hold a future disaster. No real 2010 investor had that luxury. We measured the damage. My S&P 500 in 2010 was secretly only about 2/3 real, and the inflated result I'd been trusting overstated by 96%. The number wasn't slightly optimistic, it was mostly fiction. Part 6, fixing it properly. So we went and got the real thing, a data provider with actual historical membership records. Every company that was ever in the S&P 500 and exactly which dates it was in and out. We rebuilt everything on top of that, properly this time. And even Qlib itself, the trading simulator, had its own version of this bug. It would keep holding a stock in the simulation forever after it got delisted, frozen at its last price, never selling. One acquired company alone fabricated 184 percentage points of fake return over 5 years just by never technically exiting the position. Found it, fixed it, verified it with real numbers before and after. Part 7, the twist ending. At this point, I had properly clean, honest data. So more history should only make things better, right? More years, more proof, more confidence. We extended it from 16 years back to 27. The result, well, it got worse. Turns out the shorter window I'd been using happened to conveniently skip the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis, the single worst stretch in momentum strategy history. 2 years of strategy losing dramatically while the market did the opposite. My good result wasn't good. It was lucky enough to avoid the one period that would have exposed the weakness. More data didn't rescue the strategy, it told the truth about it. The honest verdict, final answer after all of that, momentum on US large caps using daily price data. There's a real small genuine signal in there, it's just too weak and too crash prone to trust with real money yet. That's not the exciting ending I wanted, but it's the true one, and I'd rather have a boring true answer than an exciting fake one. What's next? I just started feeding it actual company fundamentals as well, instead of just price charts, earnings, cash flow, and that kind of thing. First results also looks a little bit more promising, but that's a different video. So subscribe if you enjoy finding out your good news was a bug. And there we are. We're just specifically just doing a bit of a smoke test here. On the thing, what have we got? The integration is validated end to end, done and confirmed, working. As it goes, I'll reevaluate with the price and time correct simulator rather than trusting the native portfolio. So the smoke test is done here. So we are now going to we're now going into RD agent factors. Oh no, it's not. It's going to do a 10 loop. It's going to do 10 loops, I think, after this. Let me just double check this. That's what it's doing. Config loads 500. Qlib. Okay, so basically, yeah, we're just waiting. So we have the fundamentals in now. Unfortunately, I have no fancy graphs to show you just yet, and no even simulated trading on this just yet. But we are actively working with Qlib and RD Agent here, and you know, I think it's like we're what we've got is pretty good. We've got proper data now and everything from NASDAQ directly, and so I think we've got good data. So let's see what it comes out with. It's going to do a 10 loop sort of a test here with fundamentals. I'll see if I can get any sort of a information coefficient or whatever it's called. I was also going to do a little bit of a kind of what's it called, you know, all of the abbreviations as well, because there's so many of them. I have to keep asking like what they are every now and again because I forget. But yeah, I think we're getting somewhere, hopefully. I don't know if we'll ever come out with a strategy or something, but you know, we're testing this over many years, so but this has been days and days and days of work, so it's very hard to you know, to put it all in one video. I should have been sort of recording in between, but I've just been sort of rushing through it. But that's the gist of it, I suppose. Yeah. But that took longer than it seems. So yeah, we have it here in VS Code anyway, Visual Studio, and Claude in there, and it's doing its thing. And maybe I'll pause this and I'll come back to you when these loops are finished, and we'll see what we have then. Okay, so part 2. This is actually another day, and I'll just follow on. I'll just do a script again because it's the easiest way just to catch up with things. I think it might even be 2 days later. So anyway, I'll just catch you up on what's going on here. I'll put you on, as they say. Scooby. So I let AI run my trading research for a day. It went wrong in every possible way. Right, so where do I even start with this one? You know, those days where everything that can go wrong does go wrong, but somehow you end up in a better place at the end than when you started. That's basically what today was, and I'm going to walk you through all of it. The wins, the disasters, the $85 mistake, and the moment I discovered that my entire research pipeline had a fly in the ointment that nobody, not me, not Claude, noticed for weeks. Grab a coffee. This is a long one, all right? So on part 1 of part 2 here, the handover problem, aka, who are you again? So if you've been following the channel, you know that I use Claude as my main AI research assistant. Well, now I do. I've got it set up in what I call projects, quant, I call it Quant for trading research. Jeeves for life admin and a few others. And the idea is that when you start a new chat, it remembers what you were doing. It does not always remember what you were doing. I came in this morning and Claude, my own AI assistant, who I've been working with for weeks, did not know I already had level 3 options permissions. Didn't know I'd already done a cash secured put. Didn't know we'd already rolled the NVIDIA covered calls from 1 contract to 4. It was like hiring a personal assistant, going on holiday, coming back, and they've forgotten your name. So lesson 1, the knowledge briefing. This document right here, I'm supposed to show it, I suppose, am I? Well, this document has to be kept up to date. If it's not updated, I might as well be starting from scratch every time. And as you'll see in a moment, starting from scratch when there's money on the line is not ideal. Part 2, the grok incident, aka how I lost $85 before lunch. Okay, this is the one that hurts. So we've been building something I'm calling the straddle analyzer, a tool that looks at earnings announcements and tries to find cases where the options market is wildly overpricing the expected move. The idea is if the market thinks a stock is going to move 10% on earnings, but historically it only moves 5%, you can sell that overpriced volatility and pocket the difference. Now this was very sidetracked. I got sidetracked with this options thing. We were supposed to be doing Qlib, and obviously we are still doing Qlib or the agent and all that. But it just so happened when I came out of it, we weren't getting alpha or whatever you call it, and it was just like, hey, how about this idea? I was like, okay, let's go for a side quest. Let's see if that works, And I did it, and I think it might be working actually. We did one, but I made a mistake on one of them. Obviously, that's how I lost the money. But anyway, because it hit rate limits, the session limit hit, and then I just went to grok. So I'll read anyway what it says about it here. So it's a good idea anyway, and it's solid math, and I was excited about it. And then Claude hits its session limit, right at the critical moment, right when we're about to pull option quotes and make a decision. Gone, just locked out. So I made a decision I immediately regretted, which was I'll just ask grok. Now, to be fair on grok didn't know the whole story. But anyway, I was in a rush, So grok told me to buy Origin straddle expiring July 17th. The earnings was the whole reason we were looking to buy at Origin in the first place, but that wasn't until July 28th. So I bought a straddle with 1 day to expiry, and the catalyst wasn't for another 11 days. This I didn't know at the time. I just thought grok kind of knew what was going on, but it didn't. So I tried to explain it, but obviously I didn't explain it that well. So that's like buying travel insurance for a holiday that's already over. The options bled to zero almost immediately, so I just closed it immediately for an $85 loss. Anyway, so the cheap lesson could have been a lot worse, but also it could have been completely avoidable as well. So the rule we put in place after this is no trades executes without verifying the catalyst date against the expiry. It sounds obvious, but when you're moving fast and you've just been locked out of your main tool, you make mistakes. You see, it was telling me it's bleeding theta and all this real fast, and I'm like, okay, I got to get in there. So, but it had another 11 days. I don't know why I was pushing it, but anyway, there you go. So I tried it anyway. There is one on at the moment, and I think it might be doing all right, but it's not for another month or something. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyway, the session limit problem, aka where's my timer? Right, so while we're on that, the session limit thing with Claude Pro gives you a certain amount of usage in a rolling 5-hour window. When you hit it, you're locked out. Fine, I understand why it exists, but here's the problem. Claude itself has absolutely no idea how close you are to hit the limit. It can't see the meter. It can't give you a warning. It just stops mid-sentence, mid-trade setup. So the workaround, which I only found out today, is maybe another third-party app. Maybe I might use Token Karma or something else that'll sit on my screen and track usage all across some other AI tools. So I'm going to test that one once it's available. I don't think it's available yet. The other fix, which is on me, fresh threads. So, just open up a new chat or something. So the longer a conversation goes on, the more expensive each message becomes, because the AI rereads the entire conversation every single turn. So by message 50, you're paying for messages 1 through 49 every time you say hello. So starting a fresh chat with a clean briefing is just a better practice all around. Also, I spent about $300, I'd say, on Anthropic in a week with all the things going on with Qlib and everything else, and extra tokens and all. So that's the thing that happens. So part 4, the data inventory, aka wait, we already have all this. Okay, so moving on to the actual research work, which is, I know why you're here, really. So sorry about that sidetrack, but I did get sidetracked, and so I'm just documenting it. So, and this is where it gets interesting. I've been building a quantitative research pipeline using something called Qlib, as you know, a Microsoft open source framework for backtesting factor models. And we've been using SHAR radar data from NASDAQ Data Link for clean, survivorship-free price and fundamentals data. So today we did an audit of what we actually have on disk, and it turns out we have a lot more than I thought. 4 separate Qlib binary stores. The main one, US data, price and time full. It has, is that what PIT stands for? I think so. Or something in time. Anyway, already had 4,400 tickers covering S&P 500 and NASDAQ, and validated, all clean and sitting in a folder called a git ignore folder. Was complete New York Stock Exchange price panel, 1,168 tickers, 97 to 2026. SHAR radar native, already validated. Just sitting there, waiting to be used. Quick aside on the name git ignore folder. That confused me too for a long time, actually. I only bothered to ask it. It's called that because the Git, the version control system, deliberately ignores it when pushing to GitHub because it's full of gigabytes of data files. So it's the folder Git ignores, not the folder you should ignore. In fact, it's the most important folder for the whole project. Should probably rename it, but that's a problem for future Ed or for Git maybe, I don't know. Part 5. New York Stock Exchange extension, aka finally the full universe. So we ingested the NYC data into the main Qlib store, 1,156 new tickers added. 11 were already in there from the NASDAQ pool because SHAR radar had tagged them as NASDAQ names, even though they trade on NYSE. Things like SHOP, SAIC, fine. Ran the tradability proof, which is basically asking, does the backtest actually trade these stocks, including ones that later got delisted? Because if it doesn't trade delisted names, you've got survivorship bias baked in and your results are fake. It passed 73 delisted names, were genuinely held during their active period. ERF, for example, held for 341 days, right through its 2023 delisting. Total store, 5,561 tickers, S&P 500, NASDAQ, NYSE, 97 to 26, clean. That's the skeleton, and that's what I've been trying to build for months. Part 6, the fly in the ointment, aka the bug nobody noticed. Now, here's where it gets properly interesting. I need a drink. Hold on, I'm getting hoarse. 1 second, I'm going to pause. All right. So part 6, flying the ointment, aka the bug nobody knows. Now, here's where it gets properly interesting, and honestly, this is the bit I'm most proud of figuring out, even if it took most of the day. Because I've been saying for days that there's a fly in the ointment, and I didn't think we found it, but eventually we did find it. So we ran RD agent, the factor discovery agent, on the NYSE universe. It came back with results that looked fine. IC of about 002, nothing exciting, but nothing obviously broken. Then Claude Code checked the feature importances on the model and found that every single custom factor or the agent had generated every momentum variant, every value factor, every quality metric had contributed exactly 0 splits and 0 gain to the model. 0, not low, 0. Which meant the entire discovery was just the 20 base alpha 158 technical features doing their thing. Or the agent had spent the whole run proposing factors, computing them, merging them into the dataset, and like GBM had looked at all of them and said, no thanks. Why? Or the agent has 2 components, the backtest engine, which runs the portfolio simulation, and the factor coding engine called CoSteer. which actually computes the candidate factors. We had correctly pointed the backtest at the NICE, but nobody had pointed co-steer at NICE. It was still computing factors on S&P 500 data. So when those factor values got merged onto NICE training rows, there was zero overlap. Every NICE row got filled with NaN, N-A-N, nothing. Light GBM got a data set full of blank columns and very sensibly ignored all of them. Some code. Same hyperparameters, complete universe mismatch. No error message, no warning, just silently wrong results. This is the kind of infrastructure bug that would fool most people running this kind of research, and it's particularly nasty because the results look plausible. You get a number, the number is not obviously insane, you move on. We only caught it by going one level deeper, checking actual feature importances, not just IC. Part 7, the pre-flight check, aka never again. Now, there's another thing you can do, which is like a smoke test, but you're better off having a pre-flight check before a smoke test, right? So just think about this for a second. You might want to put it in your own kind of workflow. So the fix, we built the pre-flight check script that runs before every RD agent job. 5 checks. 1, does the SF1 fundamentals data exist for the target universe with at least 95% coverage? 2, does the binary store actually contain the target market? 3, does the liquidity filter source match the price panel in the store? 4, are fundamental null rates within acceptable limits? 5, does the co-steer sandbox overlap at least 80% with the target market? The new one. That one catches the bug. If any check fails, the run doesn't start. You get a clear error message telling you exactly what's broken. It caught the problem immediately. On the first run, after we built it, fail on check, 0% overlap, exactly as designed. This is now a permanent part of the workflow. Every universe switch, every new run, pre-flight first. Part 8, the actual results, aka, okay, but does it work? So after fixing the sandbox, pulling the New York Stock Exchange SF1 fundamentals data, reapplying the liquidity filter to the correct source, and running a proper pre-flight check, we finally got a genuine NICE factor discovery run. And it's actually kind of doing something. Loops 1 and 2 were negative. Loops 3 and 4 improved significantly. By loop 10, we're at an IC of 0.003. I mean, 0.02 is really what you want, but it's something. With annualized excess return of about 9.4% after costs. And the model is proposing increasingly sophisticated factors. Return autocorrelation, earnings yield momentum, 52-week high proximity, volatility ratios. Is 0.003 IC going to make me rich? No. Industry standard for meaningful is 0.02 or above. But it's positive, it's improving, and the pipeline is, for the first time, actually working correctly on a fresh universe. We're letting it run for more loops right now to see where it goes. Outro on camera. Well, I'm not going to be on camera. Well, not yet. Maybe there'll be a face reveal if there's enough people. I tell you what, if I get 1,000 viewers, I'll do a face reveal. How's that? 1,000 subscribers or something, maybe. Okay, 1, keep your knowledge briefing. I'll do better quality then as well, probably. You know, this is terrible. But it's more for me, I suppose, because I know nobody's really watching it. Okay. 1, keep your knowledge briefing up to date. Your AI is only as good as the context you give it. 2, never let a session limit force you into a rushed trade decision. Okay, yeah, my fault there. Write it down, wait, come back fresh. 3, always check feature importances, not just IC. A model can silently ignore everything you gave it, and you'd never know unless you look. 4, build infrastructure checks before you need them. The pre-flight script caught 3 different problems across 3 separate runs, worth every minute it took to write. Well, it took Claude Code to write. I didn't write it. And 5, the git ignore folder is not the folder to ignore. Just trust me on that one. If you're building something similar, quantitative research, factor models, any kind of systematic strategy, drop a comment below. Please do. Or give a thumbs up. Or follow, subscribe, and all that kind of thing. I'd love to know what universe you're working on and what data you're using. Genuinely, I would. Maybe we can create a Discord or something if you're into this type of thing, if you're doing it as well. The full pipeline, all the scripts, the pre-flight check, the store, extension code is on GitHub. Link in the description. It's public. Fork it if you want. Right, I'm going to check the RD agent if the RD agent run finish. It hasn't finished. I'll see you in the next one. Scooby Algo Trade suggested title options, suggested thumbnail. Okay, I know I am. I'm actually looking here. What is it? Here it is. It did finish. So let's see. I'm going to put this in right now. Okay. Let's see. Max drawdown 28%, 13.5%. All right, so what have we got here? 0.003, 0.004 on a final state of the art there. So we just did 5 extra loops, really. And we could just keep going with this if it's improving. And, you know, there's lots of things you have to do before you would bother even trading on any sort of signal. You know, there's all sorts of walk forward tests and all sorts of things you have to do. This is just sort of factor finding at the moment. It's part of research, and but I'm kind of starting to feel like a bit of a quant here, a bit of a proper quant. You know, it's a long journey. What video is this? The video 10 or something? 10 videos so far over what, a year almost or more. So it's taken me a while to get there, and I'm starting to pick up a few of the a bit of the lingo, a little bit. Obviously, I haven't got the you know, whatever it is, 6 years in university or in the industry standard, institutional standard things or anything. There's a lot of things I don't understand, obviously, but yeah, I'm picking up a few things here and there. We're getting some stuff. We're getting some things here. So let me read you what it says here about this. It's a good result, clean finish, full loop. 15, the IC bounced around classic RD agent behavior, but the annualized return kept climbing, 6%, 9%, 30%. That's the more meaningful number for actual trading. The final factors driving state-of-the-art are interesting. Cross-sectional rank normalized REO, return on equity, and revenue growth. Not raw values, but ranks relative to the peer universe at each point in time. Point in time, that's what it is. What did I say earlier? Point in something. That's a more robust construction than raw fundamentals because it strips out sector level differences and it's naturally bounded. Or the agent figured that out all by itself. On a state of play here, we have the IC 009 is the best in the S&P 500. 0.002 here, 20%. I thought it was 0.003 or 4 there a second ago. Anyway, IC is still below a meaningful threshold, but IC is showing a different character to S&P 500, lower IC, but stronger return. That's not necessarily contradictory. Rank-based factors can generate returns through positioning even with modest signal. Worth committing this result and updating the state of data doc before doing anything else. Want me to write the prompt code to commit and then update the doc? Yeah, we will. Yes. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to, update the document or whatever. I don't know, let's let the read me or something. That's where we are. We're working on it. It's working. It's finally working. Hope pretty much no issues now. We're just kind of trying to find alpha basically. And I did get it to make a chart there the other day, and it looked real fancy, and it spent ages doing it. So I can throw up a bunch of charts and make it look fancy. If you want to see a bunch of charts, let me know. I can show you a bunch of charts. All I have to do is ask it to make a bunch of charts, whatever, and all that stuff. You know, pie chart, bar chart, whatever you want. Chart. I can do all sorts of charts if you want charts. But really, it just kind of burns through tokens, and I really just want to find alpha. We just want to find the numbers, really. So charts, I mean, I know they look good and all that for the video, but it's not that kind of channel, really, is it? Well, at least not yet. There you go. I hope this is helpful to someone. If you've been looking at Qlib, or if you need a hand, look, nobody needs a hand anymore. You can just ask AI. It's an expert in everything, so you don't need to ask me. But you know, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, hopefully you liked it anyway. Do please give the thumbs up or comment or something. I would appreciate it. All right. Cheers. See you next time. Scooby-Doo. Bye-bye for now.